Welcome to Game Mania Top Corner Betting Strategy and Insight. If you are visiting the channel for the first time, please tap the subscription button. Corner betting background info. There are a variety of corner betting markets on offer at bookmakers. The most basic market is to bet on the total number of corners won by both sides in a match. A bookie will often set a limit of say 10.5 corners, and your bet will be based on whether you think there will be more or fewer corners than this number. Since a team cannot be awarded half a corner, the winning result is limited to just 2 selections. Other markets with corner betting rules applied to them include halftime corners, which is the same market as the total number, but the cutoff point is at halftime. More obscure corner bet markets. A corner match bet is where you place a wager on which team will win the most corners in the game. Another possible market is the corner range, where the bookmaker gives you a series of selections for the total amount of corners in a game, for example, from 0 to 6, 7 to 12, etc. Punters can also bet on which half of the game will feature the most corners, as well as on which team will reach a certain amount of corners first. There are also live betting markets, where punters can bet on the time of the first corner, or the team to be awarded the next corner. Best betting sites for corner odds. Number 1. BETWAY betting sited. And Number 2. BETWAY betting site. You may also try Mozart betting site. Coming up with a corner betting strategy, the basics. Betting on the number of corners in a game is an activity for football-obsessed punters and should be a part of any decent football betting guide. The great thing about football is that, although a straightforward sport at its essence, there is a host of more complex detail which intelligent punters can sink their teeth into. The growth of popularity of betting apps has made this betting very easy to access, and its corner betting now features amongst all useful football betting tips. This type of wagering requires good knowledge of team tactics, and an ability to read the likely flow of a match. Football is a sport where the underdog can frustrate a favorite, and often even hang on for a shock win. This can make it different from say a rugby match, where the favorite will usually be able to use their greater physicality and organization to dominate a weaker side. A side that loses a game or succumbs to an unexpected draw can still win a good number of corners during 90 minutes. Refining your strategy, tactical insight is key. The key to betting on corners is the same as it is for more conventional forms of gambling, like goal line wagering, knowledge. A team as dominant as Celtic have been in the Scottish Premiership will tend to win a lot of corners by putting their opponents under immense pressure for long periods of the game. Teams that invite pressure on usually find themselves camped on the edge of their 18-yard box, which can lead to more openings for the attacking team and thus more conceded corners. The same can be true for a team like Man City, even if they don't end up scoring. They might win 20 corners over 90 minutes, completely overwhelming their opposition, yet fail to find the back of the net and still draw the game 0-0. Making corner kicks predictions is therefore slightly different from merely predicting the result or the winner of a match. The number of corners a team might win during a game is also dependent on their style of play. Teams that attack the flanks with natural left and right wingers will tend to win more corners than those who prefer to cut infield onto the stronger foot. A right-footed right winger will often try to beat their marker to the byline and whip in a cross, whereas a left-footed right winger may opt to cut infield onto their favored left foot, reducing the possibility of winning a corner. Making your strategy adaptable, other factors to consider. Another thing to consider when formulating corner betting strategies is how a team usually approaches a match. In regards to Premier League betting, a team like Manchester City, who like to keep possession of the ball, will often rack up a sizable amount of corners. Other teams may play more counter-attacking football, looking to draw the opposition onto them, and then hit their opponent on the break. It is up to you to determine which styles create the possibility to draw the most corners. Some teams may switch styles mid-game, causing their potential corner count to be much higher or lower than first expected. Therefore, studying corner betting statistics is essential for anyone looking to place wagers on this type of market. It pays to look at factors such as the average amount of corners in a football match when specific teams play. Your corner betting strategy should also take into account factors such as a team's league position and their recent form. Clubs who are struggling in the league and losing a lot of games will also often concede a fair amount of corners. Of course, for live betting markets, a team pushing for a late winning goal is likely to rack up a fair amount of corner kicks due to increased pressure around their opponent's goal. Knockout tournaments like the Africa Cup of Nations, the UEFA Nations League, the Euros, or the World Cup, where teams throw everything at their opponents in the final stages, are suitable examples. How to find value in corner bets. Weighing up the odds on different markets for betting on corners requires patience and thought. In many ways, it is a similar process to weighing up bets on horse racing. There is no limit on the most corners in a football match, so it's up to you to consider just how high the total can go. Tight games between sides in good form can produce far fewer corners than games between unevenly matched teams. You need to be well aware of the form of both teams going into a match when you want to use your corner betting system and know when to bet 10 corners or more. Focusing your research on lesser-known leagues and competitions is an excellent way to find value. Knowing a lot about individual leagues, such as La Liga 2 and the English National League, can help you identify mismatches in the markets. Taking notes on the performances of teams is a useful way to gather the information that could be used to your advantage. Being able to draw on your stats, particularly in times of urgency, such as live betting or when the market is fluctuating, could be the difference between a winning and losing wager. Live or in-play betting requires a bit more concentration and know-how. For live betting on the number of corners or when a corner will next occur requires you to be watching the game or at least understand how the game is flowing. Just remember that whether you are betting on the English Premier League, French Ligue 1, or the Africa Cup of Nations, be sure that you check for the best odds first. Creating a winning strategy. The most basic requirement for a winning corner betting strategy is the same as it is for most other types of sports betting strategy. You need expert knowledge about football. Corner betting takes that requirement for specific expertise up a level, though. It is not merely enough to know who has the better chance of winning, instead, you need to understand how they win. Tactics and team morale, along with a host of other factors, shape the number of awarded corners in a match. You need patience and genuine knowledge to develop a winning corner betting strategy, but with the help of this guide, you're off on the right foot.
Now you have some knowledge on what to consider and what to look for before betting on corners. You can rerun the clip in case you missed a point or two. We appreciate your time. In our next episode, we will share how past results affect betting and what you should consider through 4 simple steps. Game Mania, your sports betting partner.